Babe of the day. Babe of the day. Virginia Ding Dong Bell. She was given a most fitting byline, the little girl with the big dimensions. With her measurements of 48, 22, 34, they weren't just a kiddin'. Virginia Ding Dong Bell was a burlesque performer who delivered, and then some. She also liked doing it. Virginia could work clean, but she also did a lot of nudity. In the 1950s and 60s, she appeared on stages all over, in many men's magazines, and in lots of stag movies. She was one of the highest paid burlesque dancers in America, making around $1,500 a week in the 60s. If you see her in photos or her movies, she's always smiling. You didn't really hear her talk a lot, but she was little and loud and liked showing herself off. Virginia Bell was born Virginia Miriam Beck in California. She was in her early 20s when she started her career as a burlesque performer, around 1957. She was briefly married to a man named Charles Bell, which is how she came by her very fortunate last name. Virginia Bell was a marketable name, especially with the addition of the Ding Dong nickname. Virginia later married a man named Eli Jackson, who sold candy in a burlesque house. This was another twist of fate that worked in Virginia's favor. Eli became a big part of her career management. He later produced a couple of her stag feature films. He obviously didn't have a problem with what his wife did for a living. Virginia and Eli had 3 sons born between 1961 to 1964. She still performed at this time between pregnancies. Virginia made her features from 1961 to 69. Her many loops she made, as they are called, appeared in vending arcades all over from the late 1950s until she retired. These are the brief little films that have since popped up all over the internet and on obscure DVD collections. The burlesque theaters were drying up throughout the 60s, although Virginia Bell was still very well liked. Hey, it outlasted vaudeville. There were numerous factors involved. Movies and, especially, television killed the audiences for vaudeville and burlesque. Throughout the 1960s decade, for sure, movies and television were getting a bit more risque when it came to women. You no longer had to go to a special place to see women get naked or nearly naked. Nudity was starting to be shown in mainstream movies. Television showed women in barely there bikinis. Home video reels made it possible to see the kinds of things Virginia did from the privacy of one's own home. Plus, there were a lot of magazine publications where you could see racy women, with Playboy being the biggest. Besides all that, a lot of the guys that ran the old burlesque houses were old-timers who had been doing it for decades. They just couldn't keep it going. The younger generation had less tact and were converting these places to the anything-goes porno theaters. It really was the end of an era. With all that going on, Virginia decided to retire from burlesque in the early 1970s. She wasn't even 40. She still could have gone on a while. Virginia and Eli divorced. She then married a man named Alexander White, who she remained with until his death in 2004. Late in her life, Virginia had a longtime boyfriend named Arnold J. Popke. Virginia passed away in 2010 of cancer. She lived the rest of her life quietly from the public eye. Good for her. This isn't an easy thing to do for every performer who had her visibility. What Virginia may appreciate, however, is that people from all over the world still love her today, decades after she danced her last dance. Her films and photos will always be sexy, and sexiness transcends any time barrier. For her looks, for her courage to go in front of the cameras like she did, and for the confidence that she had as a burlesque queen, Virginia Ding Dong Bell is unquestionably a Babe of the day. Babe of the day.